Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you that's all about the M1 Garand and M1A1. You are going to get to see some very impressive M1 gameplay from both of these weapons. You'll know the difference because the M1 Garand I'm rocking the regular sights on, and when I swap over to the M1A1 you'll notice that I have the 4X optic on. The M1A1 is considered the worst weapon in the game by many players. I have heard that it's trash tier, I've heard that it's hit marker machine, useless, and to be perfectly honest, when I played with it on most of the maps, it felt about the same. Its rate of fire, or at least my trigger finger, could never keep up with the STG. The ranges I fought at it was just badly outclassed by the submachine guns, and for most of my time playing with this gun, it was a miserable experience. The M1 Garand, somewhat differently, is considered an okay weapon. It's got good two-shot potential, it dumps on people with headshots with the high caliber, but at the end of the day, it's really outclassed by the STG. Its recoil's a little bit high. When you start flinching, you can't hit anything, and it's just not a close range weapon, so most of the submachine guns and STG are just going to outspray it. And while there are valid points here, and while I would have agreed with most of these playing the normal maps, I'm going to have to disagree and say that there's some real viability to these guns, but they're very, very situational, and that situation is the war mode. In most of Call of Duty World War II, in your normal maps, it's an SMG dominant game. Almost every single normal map in the game has very close quarters combat. The SMGs or the occasional STG are just going to be the way to go. However, if you're playing a map that doesn't have close engagements, or you actually do get to fight somebody at long range, then these guns are quite excellent, and the only one you can do that is the war mode, which is the gameplay you're seeing me right here, and I actually managed to make good use of it out of the first hill, which is kind of surprising, but these two guns are amazing for war mode because of the long range engagements. You've been seeing me murder people here until I run out of ammo, and this isn't even abnormal gameplay. I didn't have to play 4 hours to get this. I got this after about 3 or 4 games, and I'm not even that great of a COD player. I'm pretty average, to be honest with you, and this is average gameplay because it just really excels at this. But if you think about it, war mode is the optimal mode for long-range actual rifle engagements. I will admit the first house is a bit close quarters combat, but looking through the windows you can poke people at medium range with your rifles, and you can harass them as they come closer. While I was able to kill people with the M1A1 here, the M1 Garand was much better for it, with two-shotting people very close range, and you can use the bayonet to stab people. Now the bridge is where these two really shine. The bridge is all about long-range combat and people throwing smokes. You can sit back there with the M1A1 and you can shoot through the smoke to find hit markers and take out the people on the bridge. Then you can counter snipe the snipers because you've got more than enough range and follow-up to do it. You can shoot people that have assault rifles on the other side of the bridge. You can take out the SMG users. Two people using the M1A1, or to a lesser extent on that point the M1 Garand, can really dominate the bridge and make it very easy to push across, or in most cases very easy to defend. The bomb zone is a mix of everything. It's long, medium, and short range combat, but I would say it's mostly medium range combat. You're mostly fighting across the bomb zone, which is kind of a no man's land, and I thought that it would be challenging, but to be perfectly honest with you, I was able to use the M1A1 and the M1 Garand quite well here too, though I was vulnerable to side flanks. And then when it came time to push the tank or defend against the tank, it was mostly medium and long range combat again, except for the few heroes on my team that would run up and contest the tank, which is an important thing to do, but I could pick the tank gunner off with my rifles and deal the headshot damage and shoot through the extra armor. I could shoot the people off the tank, I could set up flank routes, I could do a lot of very nice things with these guns in war mode. And I do want to point out that the STG is a very good rifle too. It can do quite well in a lot of these situations, and SMGs aren't bad on this mode either. They're pretty good for the first point actually, but none of the SMGs are good enough to challenge at long range. We have no MSMC from Black Ops 2, we have no Ghost MTAR or ASM-1 shenanigans going on, and the rifles like the STG and the Johnson, while they're fun and they're fully automatic, they can't beat that semi-automatic oppressiveness that the M1A1 and the M1 Garand have. You can use the M1A1 and M1 Garand to kill everything on this map. You outrange the SMGs, you outrange most of the rifles, you can kill most of the snipers that don't one-hit you. Any sniper that's not Pomage level you can just poke down. Now, light machine guns are a little bit more of a challenge, but they're somewhat uncommon, and the most important thing here is that you have the ammo in your magazine to continually poke people through smoke and just find hit markers through walls and all sorts of strange objects, and it works incredibly well. The guns are by design design ideal for this range. They're semi-automatic, high-damage weapons, so of course it makes sense that they were unpopular in mostly close-quarters combat maps that were just full of SMGs. However, War Mode is all about long-range combat, so the long-range semi-autos really shine here, and I think that when the final game comes out, if there are more long-range maps, then these two guns will become increasingly viable, or if all of the maps are big, then these two guns will actually be quite popular. Today's video isn't super long or complicated. There's no giant overarching point or anything impressive to be made. I just wanted to show off something that I don't think any other YouTuber was talking about and let you know that while no, these guns aren't really that great for the normal maps, M1A1 is actually pretty garbage for most of the normal maps, it's pretty godly in War Mode. So when the game does come out, or if there's another beta weekend, or if we get to play again, I would highly encourage you to try out the semi-autos in War Mode, and I think you'll be very happy with it. Guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.